side on behalf of the government and people of Nevis. And so I think it's a good day. We invite one and all to come out and be a part of that historic groundbreaking, which happens again tomorrow, Wednesday, at 5 p.m. at the site of the airport expansion project. And so we certainly look forward to that and say thank you again to all those who have played a role thus far. Before the press asks the question, let me try to answer it. We have not yet finalized the landward side of things because the $20 million that has been kindly offered to us by the government and people of the Republic of China, Taiwan, on very concessionary terms, we have not yet had the guarantee necessary from the federal government to move that forward. The Honorable Prime Minister and I have had a number of discussions on that. I think that we might have a way, but so far that has not yet been finalized. What we are going to proceed with is the airport side. That is the airstrip, the landing strip, and all of those. As somebody pointed out to me, airplanes need to land on a runway. And so we should not delay the project talking about roads and other infrastructure. Let us get the runway done. And I want to thank again Mr. Patrick Drahi, who has come forward and has assisted us in terms of that aspect of things. He has been quite anxious to get the project going, and so we are finally where we need to be to move this forward. We hope to have the groundbreaking tomorrow with construction to start shortly thereafter. And so I say again, thanks to all those who have been involved. While I'm in the process of saying thank you and issuing commendations and congratulations, it would be remiss of me if I did not single out my dear friend, Ignacio Otley. They refer to him as Iggy. Everybody knows him as Iggy. He has been promoted at the prestigious Four Seasons Resort to the position of Assistant Director of Purchasing. Very important position because purchasing controls all the goods and food and everything else that's brought in for the hotel. So, Iggy, if you're listening, congratulations to you. And today is also Iggy's birthday. So I want to say happy birthday to him as well. I don't know if he's accustomed to the premier in a press conference saying happy birthday to him, but since Iggy has had this promotion and is celebrating his birthday, we send blessings to him from this rostrum. I am also to commend the Four Seasons. I've been having ongoing discussions with them about ensuring after all these years that more Nevisians, more locals move into positions of leadership at that institution. I'm very happy that recently the general manager would have reported that as a consequence of those engagements, they have selected a cohort of locals who will be put into specific management training to ensure that we have the types of transition that are critical if we are to move this process forward, to have the people of this island in the commanding heights of the economy. And so certainly I look forward to engaging further on that, but we're also seeing now some fruits of that with Ignacio. With a name like Ignacio, you know he's going to do great things. Otley moving into that position, so we say thank you to him. Now, ladies and gentlemen, yesterday we all, I think, were on tenterhooks when we had word that we had an accident at sea involving one of our inter-island ferries. I am pleased to say officially that all passengers and crew were safely rescued. I'm told that there were 47 souls on board and that all have been accounted for and that all are safe. I want to thank the first responders. I'm told the Makana ferry was leaving Bastia Harbor and that it responded quickly. I'm told some fishermen in the area responded, and I'm also told that the Coast Guard would have responded. I want to thank them all. Most of all, I want to thank Jehovah God for his grace, would have behaved professionally, and that everyone is safe. Of course, our thoughts and prayers go out to them nevertheless, because up to yesterday I was told that one young lady had to be taken to hospital because she had a panic attack. And we can well understand the trauma that those individuals would have been going through. And so I extend my prayers to them that they can, notwithstanding their physical being is safe, that the mental anguish that they would have endured, that they would get assistance to deal with that as well, whether they need counseling or otherwise. And there is some irony because this was a vessel leaving St. Kitts to Nevis. just as in years ago the Christina was leaving St. Kitts to Nevis. And the good thing here, I suppose, is that the vessel encountered difficulty almost immediately as it left Bastia Harbor. I wouldn't want to speculate as to what could have happened had it been out in the deep ocean. And so I'm very, very grateful. And God has been good to us. He allowed those who needed to be close by to ensure that everyone has been safe, has been returned safely, forgive me. Let me also at this point express concern for the operators, the local business people, and I don't want us to forget them, because they too would be going through quite a lot, having lost their vessel and having, of course, averted very narrowly this potential tragedy. I know that an investigation will now occur, and I'm hopeful that the findings of that investigation will make our inter-island ferry even stronger, even safer. Now, there's some out there who are already engaging in wild speculations. I urge you not to. I really urge you not to. Accidents will happen. It is just the nature of life. Accidents will happen. While we do our very best to prevent them, when they do happen, we must check on what our responses are like and how effectively we have dealt with those accidents. Because as sure as night follows day, we will have mishaps and accidents. They happen in the first world, they happen in the second world, they happen in the third world, and they will happen in the fourth world. They happen because that is the nature of life. And so I don't want us to engage in any wild speculations. Allow the maritime officials to do the investigation, and let us all collectively be grateful that there has been no loss of life. I think that that is very important, and let us continue to remember the survivors and the ferry owners and operators in our prayers. There is, in my respectful opinion, no need to be concerned about the safety of inter-island ferry operations and inter-island travel. Because even though, again, some will be quick to make certain statements, I assure you that this is the first incident of its type that we've had in the past over 50 years of inter-island travel. So I think that that speaks well in terms of the level of safety and security that we've had, and the level of seaworthiness that we've had of the various vessels that have been transited. Now, it's ironic that that would have happened yesterday, because I came this morning intending to update you on inter-island travel. I do that each year after the music festival. I started by commending the government in St. Kitts, and specifically the Honorable Marsha Henderson, Minister of Tourism, and her team. But events like the music festival also generate significant activity on the sister island here of Nevis. We Nevisians go in droves to St. Kitts for music festival, just as Kittitians come in droves to Mango Festival, which I'll get to, and also to Culturama and the various events. We are one country, and people move around freely. And the ferry service is a critical part of that freedom of movement. I want to underscore that, because when we invested in the water taxi facility at Wally, we did that specifically because as a government we recognize the importance of inter-island trade, inter-island traffic, and the movement of goods and services between St. Kitts and Nevis. We are only 2 miles at our closest point. We are blessed, unlike other twin-island, multi-island states in the Caribbean, that we are very close to each other.
We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
More than 42 million cars from 19 different car companies are being recalled for faulty airbag inflators. Repairs are fast, easy, and free. The problem isn't with the airbag, it's with the airbag inflator. Because the inflator can rupture, shooting shrapnel through the airbag, which can cause serious injury or even death. Don't risk it, fix it.
Please contact TDC Automotive Division to find out if your Toyota vehicle is affected by the Takata airbag recall. Visit or call us at 465-2511 in St. Kitts or 469-5430 in Nevis.
Heritage matters to me. Heritage matters to you. Join me, Percival Hanley, this coming Friday and every other Friday at 10 a.m. to 12 noon for Heritage Matters on Win Media SKN 98.9. Heritage matters to me. Heritage matters to you.
That has lent itself to significant interaction between people of St. Kitts and Nevis, significant movement of tourists and guests. We now say when we go to market this jurisdiction that you can stay on Nevis and enjoy St. Kitts. You can stay on St. Kitts and enjoy Nevis. Not many destinations in the Caribbean can make that kind of boast. And so part of what we look at each year is an indicator of how many people would have traveled during the weekend of the music festival. And the numbers, I think, are always interesting. In 2024, we had some, I will give you the totals, give me a moment. 2024, we had some 14,389 passenger movements over the course of the period of the music festival. So that would be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we've added Monday because we know some people stay over for White Sands as well. So over that period in 2024, there were a total of some 14,389 passenger movements. Now, this represented 4,238 movements from Charlestown Port, and 10,151 movements from the Wally Water Taxi Facility. In 2025, that number moved from 14,389 to 19,448 passenger movements. And that represented 5,686 passenger movements from Charlestown Ferry Terminal and 13,762 movements from the Wally Water Taxi Facility. This year, I am pleased to say that the numbers have increased even further. And this year for 2026, we had, for the first time ever, 20,001 people moving back and forth for the music festival weekend. We had 5,180 from Charlestown. That number went down from last year. But we had 14,821 at the Wally Water Taxi Facility. And for the first time in our history, we have had movements of over 20,000 passengers during the weekend of the music festival. That represents, ladies and gentlemen, a 39% growth over the last 3 years. I think that that is significant. When we think of 20,000 people moving back and forth, we have to think, of course, of the ferry operators. But we also must think of the taxis. We must think of those who are employed with the ferries. We must think of NASPA and what NASPA is going to receive as people are moving. They pay a nominal amount. We must think of the spin-offs of those who were in St. Kitts for the Music Fest and came over to Nevis to enjoy the beaches and enjoy the restaurants and all that Nevis has to offer. I think this is what national economic activity looks like. And this is an excellent indicator of what has happened over the course of the last 3 years. We have moved from a total population movement, a total passenger movement of 14,821 in 2024 to now, for the first time in our history, 20,001 in 2026. I think that that is significant. But if you felt that people were only moving via the ferry terminals, you would be wrong, because people were also moving via the car ferries. So people were also getting into their vehicles, as I did, and taking their families over in their car. And again, those numbers are instructive. In 2025, over that period, we had 401 vehicles being moved back and forth between St. Kitts and Nevis for the music festival. This year, for 2026, we have had a growth of 55%, and we had 623 vehicles moving back and forth over the course of the music festival. Now, I hasten to add that this does not include any traffic on the sea bridge, because that sea bridge dock is not a dock that is monitored and managed by NASPA. So this only reflects those who would have traveled via the iConnect, which comes in to the Charleston port and or to the Long Point port, and to some extent those who are the NASPA authorities, and they are the ones who control the official ports on the island of Nevis. Let me move from that and move very quickly to the Ministry of Health, and to say that the Health Promotion Unit in Nevis continues to do excellent work in strengthening the health and well-being of our people through outreach, education, and community engagement. In Nevis, we continue to say that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, or a dollar of prevention is worth $1 million of cure. We're trying to educate our people. We're trying to prevent our people from getting sick and to delay the onset of sickness as much as possible. And I continue to urge our people to do some necessary things. When you hear that a young person in their 30s or 40s has end-stage kidney failure, you hear that young people have prostate cancer or breast cancer, we know that there are things that you can do to either eliminate or delay the occurrence of some of these. We suffer on the island from high incidences of non-communicable diseases. We have diabetes, hypertension. Many people are overweight. And so obesity is also an issue. And that is fed in large part by our lifestyles. Now, I'm not suggesting that genetics doesn't play a role. And clearly there's some people with a predisposition to certain conditions. But all the literature suggests that your lifestyle also plays a role. And so what we eat, what we drink, whether we are active in terms of exercise, all of those factor into your health. And I continue to urge our people to get up, get out, and get moving. To do things for yourself. Taking care of your health is a personal responsibility. And for me, I can't emphasize that enough. I want to suggest that another critical part of taking care of your health is knowing your status. Too many of us, we feel a pain, we feel an ache, we're quick to dismiss it. Nevis is the only place in the world where a man feels a pain in his foot and he says it's gas. Everything we feel, we say is gas. And as a result of that, we delay seeking medical attention. Many of us do not go to get regular medical checkups. And so oftentimes we have things that are happening in our bodies and we don't know about it. And so that is why the work of the Health Promotion Unit is so critical. You should be getting regular checks. You should be doing an annual checkup. Women, you should be doing your pap smear and your mammogram. Men, you should be doing your prostate exam, especially for those who are over 40. And going to these pop-ups that we have, where the Health Promotion Unit has doctors and health professionals on hand to test your blood pressure, to test your glucose levels, and even sometimes to do what they call it, BMI, I think, body mass index. They do all of these things at these pop-ups. Please take advantage of these opportunities to know your health. The literature suggests that in many cases, if you can detect certain cancers like prostate early, they're almost 100% curable. But if it gets away from you because you say you're not going to go doctor, I spoke to somebody not long ago who said to me that every time they go to the doctor finds something wrong, so they stop going. We need to go and get checked. We need to know what our status is. I encourage us all. Don't feel that you're too young. Some people who are young and full of energy, vim, vigor, and vitality, they say they're not going to go to any doctor. They don't need a doctor. I urge you to just have a regime and a regimen where you get tested, you get checked. You know what your numbers look like. That's going to be important because too many of us have been taken by surprise when we recognize that, hey, we've had diabetes raging in our bodies. We've had hypertension raging, and our kidneys are now failing. We have to work on that, ladies and gentlemen. And so that's why I am so grateful to the professional staff of the Nevis Health Promotion Unit for all the work that they continue to do. In recognition of Caribbean Nutrition Day on June 1st, they would have had a celebration under the theme Healthy Eating, Active Living, Caribbean Foods and Medicine. And they would have partnered with Hosford's IGA Value Mart to promote healthier eating habits. A total of 124 individuals were served with nutritious smoothies, including mango, banana, berry, and watermelon, cucumber, mint. All of those things are available locally. They will shortly launch a public awareness initiative from farm to wellness, featuring local farmers, fishers, and market vendors, sharing the benefits of locally produced foods. These short features will air on NNC and on the Health Promotions Unit's Facebook page starting yesterday, should have started June 29th. Again, sounds simple, but I keep saying to our people, if you plant a little something in your backyard and eat what you grow, if you try to buy local, support the local farmers. Oftentimes we're eating food that is imported from overseas of low quality. That's the reality. We get in chicken, low quality. And our people sometimes are fooled because they want the biggest chicken leg. Ask yourself how that chicken leg got so big. Is that normal? And if it's not normal because poultry is being pumped full of hormones and growth agents, what does that do to your body? I don't think it's a secret that it appears that we have far more incidences of some of these diseases now than we used to. And they say you are what you eat. And so we have to be careful about what we eat. If you have the alternative to eat local, to support our local farmers, then I beg you, do so. If you have the possibility of growing something at home, and I know people argue. People say, oh, I don't have land. But you know how much vegetable you can grow in flower pots? Tomatoes, cucumber. You can grow sweet peppers. You can grow your, what they call it, basil and seasonings of that nature. Herbs. All of these you can grow in a pot. So if you don't have any land, you can still put something out on your little porch. Some people argue and say the monkeys, and yes, the monkeys are a problem. At my own home, what I've tried to do is I've invested in some dogs. And the monkeys still, because they outsmart the dogs all the time. So they still get their share. But plant something. Not only is it good for you in terms of you eating healthier, it's also good in terms of activity. When I go into my garden, it makes me feel good. It puts my mind at ease, and it allows me to get some physical activity as well. So I urge you, must know your status. So when they say they're screening, they want you to come. Check your blood pressure. Check your glucose levels. Check on whether or not you're obese or tending in that direction. Take the tips from them in terms of what you can do. I spoke to someone, I met him at the music festival, and I said to him, good friend of mine, I said, man, you've lost some weight. You look great. And he said to me, yes. And he's told me something that I think I want to share. He said he works hard. He's building his business. But he was overweight. And he said, one day he said, why should I be working so hard and building a business when I'm not taking care of my health, and therefore I may not be in a position to enjoy the success of my business? He said that was the day he took a decision. And he told me that he has lost 80 pounds in the past several months. 80 pounds. He was a big guy. And I said to him, you've lost 80 pounds. How did you do it? And he said, I said, are you exercising in the gym? He said, man, I did some simple things. He said, I cut out bread, I cut out flour, I cut out rice. He said, I used to love eating roti, cut that out too. And he said, sweet drink, sodas, cut that out. Sugar, salt, cut that out. And he said the weight started falling off. It requires discipline. But we can do it if we decide to do it. And that is why I come back to say your health is in your hands. Too often we blame government. We blame somebody else. But if you ask yourself, well, how did I get to this condition? A lot of times it is because of the choices that we make. And so I urge us to continue to work with the Health Promotion Unit, and the work that they're doing is important work. They're also marking the 3rd annual Youth Health Mentorship Program Summer Camp that started yesterday, and they have 21 students that they're working with. And they've also asked me to tell you that they're looking ahead to Culturama, and they want everybody who's celebrating for Culturama to take advantage of the pre-Culturama Health Pop-Up Clinic that will be on July 18th at the MGR Park. Multiple opportunities are being provided to us to know our status and to know our numbers. The Department of Gender Affairs, in collaboration with the Nevis Disaster Management Department, will host the Household Disaster Preparedness Training Session today from 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. That is today, 30th June, at the Department of Gender Affairs Conference Room. The session is specifically designed for infant daycare assistance clients, mothers, and primary caregivers of young children, and aims to strengthen household preparedness ahead of the 2026 Atlantic season. I want to just pause here for a moment to publicly commend the Honorable Minister Spencer Brand, who's our focal point on disaster management, the head of the Disaster Management Unit, Mr. Brian Dyer, and the entire team. Why? Because they continue to say the necessary things to us. They continue to have the necessary training. Here we're talking about training for infant daycare assistants, mothers and primary caregivers of young children. Have any of us ever stopped to consider, if we have an infant in the house, what happens if a hurricane hits? Lots of times we don't think of these things because it's a beautiful sunny day, as the Permanent Secretary said when he was introducing me. Beautiful sunny day outside in Nevis. All is well. And so we don't attune our mind, and that is why I give them so much credit, because they keep saying to us, be prepared. We pray for the best, but we prepare for the worst. And on that basis, they have and continue to have these sessions. Sticking with gender affairs, let me commend Mr. Orville Kim Bartlett. He won the Gender Affairs Grill Master competition, and he has been named the 2026 champion. As part of his prize, Mr. Bartlett has earned an all-expenses-paid trip to Palm Bay, Florida, where he will represent Nevis at the 10th annual Dr. Packer's Backyard Barbecue Tournament on 17th of October. Everybody knows Dr. Packer. He's from Nevis, from Henley Part, as we say, but would have lived some time in Government Road before moving to the United States. And he has this big event which has grown and grown each year. And we now will be sending Mr. Kim Bartlett to represent Nevis at that event. The Department of Gender Affairs, in partnership with the Department of Agriculture, recently concluded a backyard container gardening workshop, which was done on Monday, 15th of June. The workshop was facilitated by Mr. Amory, provided participants with practical skills and knowledge in sustainable food production. We had a total of 14 participants engaging in learning the skills which will help us in terms of our food security, self-sufficiency, and backyard agriculture. I want, before I move from the backyard, because it's a passion of mine, to say to our people as well, as we all deal with the rising cost of living, it is also a way where you could cut down on how much you have to buy in the supermarket. Now, let me give you a personal example. I have some banana plants at my yard, my backyard. And I was able to pick a bunch of bananas. In fact, I learned a trick the other day. I hope if there are real agriculturists out there, they don't get offended and say I'm giving bad advice. But you know, sometimes when you pick the whole bunch of bananas, they start to ripe. Because they're off the banana plant. So I learned a trick the other day. I said, man, just go and cut a hand. When you want it, leave the bunch. But just cut a hand of banana when you need to cook. And so the bananas stay on the tree, and they stay green. That's how we tend to cook them for a longer period of time. And so I make the point that with a single bunch of banana in your yard, man, you could eat banana for a week if you choose to. And it's healthy, it's natural. You could have mashed banana on Monday, boiled banana on Tuesday, banana soup on Wednesday, banana fritters on Thursday, if you get some ripe ones. I say all that to say that if you start to look at these things in terms of how does it impact my pocketbook, you start to see that substitution becomes really relevant. I am saying this thing because these are not macro type issues. These are really micro issues. These are issues where we get very granular. But just imagine if each household was thinking like that and saying, well, instead of going to the supermarket and purchasing all that I need to purchase, let me grow something that's easy. Watermelon, cantaloupe, cucumbers, passion fruit, all of those grow easily. And so I encourage our people again, take control. Please, take control. The Nevis Multicultural Heritage Festival was a smashing success. This was the third annual event of its kind. It was at the MGR Park, and it was done at the end of May, on May 30th. The festival featured participation from numerous countries. Now, this again is an effort by the government to say to those who choose to make Nevis their home, you are welcome to be here. We welcome you. We thank you for the contribution that you're making. And so creating this multicultural festival, the idea behind it was to allow all of those various cultures and nationalities that are here to come and showcase what they have to offer. We had participation from the Dominican Republic, Guyana, of course, local participation, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, Dominica, Grenada, the Philippines. We had some African nations who were there, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We had Japan and India. All of these various nationalities were represented there. And I just want to say to the Vincentians who were there that they shared with me some rum that they have. I can't remember what the rum is called now. But they have some rum there. And I figured, well, I'm there, let me try. And the guys insisted. And I'm telling you, I will not be trying it again. They enjoyed it. They say that is their rum. I can't remember the name. What's the name of the rum in Somerset? Huh? Sunset. Yes, it nearly set my son. I agree with you. The name is Sunset. And the Vincentians are there enjoying the sunset. But when I look at it, I said, I want my son to rise tomorrow. And so I will leave the sunset alone. But certainly, the Vincentians were out in force with their food, their drink. And I was happy to see so many cultures represented. I want to, of course, thank the vendors, supporters, participants, volunteers, sponsors, and the various government departments who made this possible. We also would have had the Bread Nut Affair, and that would have been done at the Pond Hill Community Center on the 5th of June. And I didn't realize, but I'm told that bread nut has a lot of healthy nutrients and antioxidant properties. So we urge our people to go out, and breadnut is quite versatile. There were lots of various products made with the breadnut. I like to eat breadnut just like that, but there are people who take it. They had banana breadnut bread, had a breadnut ice cream, all this kind of thing, curried breadnut. Then they also had the Barnes Gut Breadfruit Festival. That was held on the 12th of June. And again, the Barnes Gut community continues with the assistance of the government to put on this festival. I want to thank all the sponsors, and I also want to say congratulations to my brother, the Honorable Alexis Jeffers. He won the breadfruit peeling competition. And so I thought that was quite interesting, that they had a breadfruit peeling, and Honorable Alexis Jeffers was the winner. The department will also be hosting a soft furnishing workshop that is slated for July. And this 6-week workshop, participants will engage in hands-on sessions designed to teach essential fabric crafting and upholstery. This workshop will teach participants how to create various soft furnishings such as pillows, cushions, tote bags, curtains, table runners, and more. This will put them in a position to have a marketable skill, even launch a small business, create another source of income. But it also does something else. It allows you to be able to do things for your own home. And again, to save money, because you have the skills where you can do it for yourself. So instead of going out and buying pillow covers, you can now make your own. The idea, again, is to make our society, our community, and our persons more self-sustaining. If you're interested, please contact the Department of Gender Affairs at 469-5521. The department will also be hosting Camp Refresh from July 13th to July 24th at the Charleston Secondary School. Daily sessions will run from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. The theme, Planet Protectors Reduce, Reuse, and Restore. The goal is to empower participants with knowledge, skills, and motivation to protect the environment through sustainable reuse practices and ecosystem restoration initiatives. Registration fee is only $40 per child for a total of $80. That will be the total that you spend to cover your period there. Registration is now open, and again, we urge you to call 469-5521 if you are interested. Now, the Nevis Solid Waste Management Authority, in partnership with 3 community businesses, is pleased to announce the expansion of the island's recycling network under the ICDF recycling program with the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. On Friday, June 26, recycling bins were delivered at Best Buy Supermarket in Charlestown, 869 Sports Bar in Gingerland, and Barrett's One Stop in St. James Parish. These bins are specifically designated for the collection of plastic bottles, cardboard boxes, metals, and aluminum tins. These are all the items that we are currently recycling. They're intended to complement the existing door-to-door recycling collection service, serving as convenient overflow points for residents. Looking ahead, we hope to place 2 additional bins in the remaining parishes to achieve island-wide coverage. We invite, of course, organizations and businesses to partner with us on this, because we're trying our very best to recycle our plastics, our aluminum, our paper products, and our, let me get it, the third category here, forgive me, plastics, cardboard, boxes, metals, and aluminum tins. Those are the categories. Let me thank the government of Taiwan, as always, for being our best friend and partner in this initiative. We could not have done it without them. Let me also make an appeal. The public is asked to bear in mind that the community bins are intended for household waste. We have observed that trucking operators are disposing of bulky items into these bins, and that has led to difficulties, garbage overflow, litter, and leaving the island appearing to be unclean and unkempt. I'm asking those truckers to be responsible. Many of them are paid by people to take their garbage to the dump, official landfill, and instead of doing that, they dump the garbage wherever they could find a place to dump it. I don't know if they're taking people money and then deciding that they will take a shortcut. Please, I walk at mornings and it's appalling to see microwaves, washing machines, old refrigerators, dumped on the side of the road, dumped into our guts. Nevis is all we have. Let us take care of Nevis. And I make that appeal because I do think that all of us love this island. It's just that the attitude of some is one of selfishness. Once I'm making money, I don't care about anybody else. If you are paid by a homeowner to take the garbage to the tip, to the landfill, please take the garbage to the landfill. And if you're disposing of your own garbage, I urge you to do the same. Let us keep Nevis clean, please. Culturama is in the air, and we will celebrate our 52nd anniversary from July 23rd to August 4th. Slogan, Our Heritage Proud and True. It's Culturama 52. The Secretariat is still accepting registrations for various events. Senior Street Parade, the registration will end on Friday, July 3rd. Juve Troops, the registration will end on Friday, July 3rd. And the Road March, registration will end on Friday, July 10th. Street vending registration will end on Friday, July 10th. Please, go and register so you know exactly what you're doing and there are no difficulties. You can collect your application forms and return them to the Culturama Secretariat, which is at the Cotton Ginnery Mall, or just visit www.culturamanevis.com to access the forms online. The National Bank Soca Monarch, we had our first soca teaser. We had our soca teaser number 2 at 869 Sports Bar and soca teaser number 3 in St. Kitts at Champions Bar at Port Zante. From the photos, it looks like people had a really good time, and we thank 869 and Champions for their partnership. The TDC Senior Kaiso would have held their first tent at Old House Cafe on June 7th, and on June 17th, they went to Dewdrops up in Westbury. Both tents were well attended and well received. Again, the next tent, July 2nd, will be at Mem's Pizzeria. So if you see, we're moving Culturama around, moving it into the communities, allowing the community to benefit from it. July 11th will be the carried-powered Culturama 52 bar crawl, which started at the Villa Grounds at 12 noon, and that is free. So just hop on one of the buses, hop on to one of the, what they call those things that open, safaris, and enjoy yourself. That is the whole idea of Culturama. And then the opening is July 23rd at Nidax Cultural Complex. Please, of course, go to our website, www.culturamanevis.com, or visit our pages on social media, and you will get all the information that you need. Let me turn very quickly to the Film Commission and the work that we're trying to do. We're very proud of the short film Pan Girl, which, as we know, was done by Juliet Jeffers using a principally local crew and cast. Juliet is a daughter of Nevis and someone who has been very involved in film. We've seen on movies, we see her, if you watch The Kings of Tulsa, she has a recurring role there, and she has been on television for quite some time. She had this idea to produce this film here, and it has done incredibly well. It won an award on a side event at the Cannes Film Festival, and it continues a successful international film festival run. Its latest screening took place on Sunday, 29th June. Sunday, 28th June at the prestigious Dances with Films Festival in Los Angeles. And that, of course, gives Nevis an opportunity to be portrayed as well. I want our people to see the film industry in that way. Some critics said to us, why are you trying to get involved in a film industry? It's the exposure. It's opening up the economy. It's creating economic diversification. It's creating new skills, and for those who have latent talents, it's trying to bring those talents to the fore. And so with people like Juliet Jeffers, we're truly grateful that we are making progress. I would also like to announce a new partnership between the Film Commission and Black Women Film Network that has led to a good collaboration. The Black Women in Film Network has more than 2,500 industry professionals, over 45,000 social media followers. We were already featured by them in their June newsletter, and we look forward to doing some more work with them to again bring awareness to Nevis. And for members of the press, I have said, and I'm quite proud to say, that thus far, since we started this journey back in 2020, Nevis has had 14 major film productions, 2 television series, and 2 catalog photo shoots in that period of time. So I think that that's remarkable. And there's more to come. Production on Melody Heals the Soul, written by St. Kitts and Nevis diaspora student Lurik Rankin and directed by diaspora filmmaker Tamika Gishad, is a Columbia University School of Arts MFA thesis film currently in the final stages of pre-production. This is inspired by true events. Melody Heals the Soul follows a Nevisian trumpeter recovering from Broca's aphasia after a traumatic brain injury, and a medical student who develops a culturally responsive form of melodic intonation therapy using the rhythms and soundscape of Nevis to help him rediscover his voice. So in every way, it's a local story being done by a local filmmaker, Lurik Rankin, and directed by a local director, Tamika Gishad. That film, I am advised, is going to happen very shortly here, and they will use principally a local cast and crew. Some time ago, I had a conversation with a dear friend of mine, someone who challenges me, someone who offers, I think, excellent criticism and critique about what we're doing. And what I value most about her, she also offers suggestions and recommendations. We had an engagement concerning film, and her comments stuck with me because she says, why are you talking about doing a film industry when Nevis doesn't even have a movie theater? And I thought that it was an interesting comment to make. Makes a lot of sense in one way. But my response to her was we ought not to limit ourselves. We are not to limit ourselves. And the fact that Pangirl could have been shot here using a local cast and crew, local director, the brainchild of Juliet Jeffers, a local woman, and could have won 2 awards at the Cannes Festival in France, one of the world's most famous film festivals, and is now being shown all around the world. It speaks volumes as to what happens when you have government that believes in our people and our own capacity. We may only get 1 film writer, 1 actor or actress that emerges, 1 songwriter, 1 makeup artist. We recognize that we are small. But imagine the achievement of seeing one of us on the big screen at some point in a starring role, seeing one of us as a screenwriter, one of us as a director, lighting coordinator, makeup artist, set designer, costume designer. We have to believe in ourselves and believe in our people. And too many have said to Nevis, you must sit down in the back because you're small. Just this morning, I saw a piece written because Prime Minister Andrew Holness is pushing to have film in Jamaica become a critical part of the Jamaican economy. Prime Minister Mia Mottley in Barbados, pushing to have film in Barbados become a part of the Bajan economy. Should we say to Jamaica and Barbados, you should not do it because you don't have enough movie theaters in your country? Because you see, it goes beyond that. And in fact, yesterday I had a Zoom conversation with some people who want to assist us. And the gentleman said it's no longer even being referred to as a film industry. They're changing the language to a content industry. Because this is no longer just about film, you know. With the right prompts and some of the apps on AI, you could create your own film. I see a young man had me as a hero the other day. What do you call him? Comic. One of those like Batman or Superman. What do you call those? Superhero. I get some licks, but nevertheless, I was flying through the air. Fella called me, say he want me to show him how to do the lava from the mountain, some lava scene. All of this a young person here in Nevis doing with AI. So it is not even now just about your ability to handle the camera or your ability to edit. You have tools now that could help you to do that. So the gentleman yesterday said to me something quite profound. It's not about movie theaters anymore. How many people are going to movie theaters? Most people are engaging and absorbing and consuming content on their phone, or they're doing it at their home. So the reality is, the broader contextual reality is that we ought not to limit ourselves or limit our people. That same young man who has created these superhero videos has so much talent. One of his videos, I know, was sent abroad to someone who was involved in that business, and the person said, wow, they don't even think that they can. That's what they do for a living, create something of that quality as this young man created. I'm told the young man is from Jessop's. That is what we need to do. Encourage our people. What use am I as a Premier of Nevis if I'm not here to encourage our people to achieve? And so having a content industry is an important development for our creatives. We can't just continue to give lip service to the creative economy. They call it the orange economy. We have to be able to support it, and that is what we're doing with film. Let me move quickly to the Department of Education and to say that the 2026 Summer Job Attachment Program is well underway. Building futures, unlocking the potential in you. This is something we do every year. And I want to commend the Minister, the Honorable Troy Liebert, and the entire team there, PS assistant, PS directors, for the excellent work that they've been doing. We received 68 applications this year. 46 young people have successfully completed the interview phase and advanced into the training workshop. Now, what I think is important about our Summer Job Attachment Program, there is also a requirement to volunteer. So there are volunteer projects. We all lament the fact that volunteering has fallen out of style in Nevis. We want to bring it back. So part of this is that they must volunteer to do some project, and we hope that we'll have our youngsters gainfully employed, gainfully engaged over the course of the summer. I want to thank the businesses, organization, mentors, facilitators, and volunteers. They've all been truly, truly excellent in assisting us. And I want to encourage others to come on board. These programs only work when the private and public sector work together. So I encourage others to come on board as well. The Nevis Public Library will also be having its summer program. And that program from July 13 to 17 for Energy Explorers, ages 5 to 8, and July 20 to 24 for Energy Champions, ages 9 to 12. This all will be at the Nevis Public Library from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. daily, and it is under the theme Energy Awareness in a Global Crisis. We encourage parents and guardians, of course, to take advantage of these opportunities. Now, when I was a youngster, we didn't have all of this happening in Nevis. So when summer came, you went to pick mango, you did whatever, but there was no formal, structured activities. The government is responding, and others as well, not just the government, because I see my friend who has a Nevis Equestrian Center, Erica Gilbert, she's doing something as well. I see the various swim camps are doing something. The idea really is to have your children in a structured, safe environment so that you can be comfortable going off to work, going off to do what you're doing, because you know, little Susie or little Johnny is being well taken care of. And that I think is important. We are giving parents options and guardians options. We are creating a safe environment for them. And we're doing it most times either for free or near free. I believe I've said it from this very podium that I met with some regular visitors to Nevis. But these are Caucasians who come from the United States, big city, New York. And they've been coming here for a very long time. And I was quite surprised to hear the mother say that her young children, she's bringing them to Nevis this year for the summer camp. Because when she looked at what it costs to have the children in summer camp here, it was cheaper for her to purchase their airline tickets from America to bring them here and put them in summer camp here rather than having them in summer camp in New York. And I thought that was very interesting. She said she looked at it and she loved what we were doing and what we were seeking to achieve. I also want to, on behalf of the Department of Education, thank everyone for supporting the Child Month. It has come to a close, and the Department of Education extends our heartfelt gratitude to everyone who contributed into making that event a tremendous success. We are, of course, now in graduation season, and as we approach the conclusion of another successful academic year, this is one of the most anticipated periods where friends, families, well-wishers, guardians, they go to see our children graduating, some from preschool to primary, some from primary to secondary, some from secondary to sixth form, some from sixth form, and going on to do other things. Those ceremonies will start already on June 23rd and will continue through July 9th. And we, of course, wish all of the students well, their parents, their teachers. We congratulate them all. The end of the 2025-2026 academic year, Term 3, will officially conclude on Wednesday, July 8th for students, while teachers will conclude the school year on Friday, July 10th, following the completion of their end-of-year responsibilities. As we close another academic year, I take this opportunity to thank our principals, teachers, education officers, support staff, parents, and all stakeholders for their dedication and commitment to the education of our nation's children. Your collective efforts have contributed significantly to another productive school year. To our students, I encourage you to make good use of the vacation period. While it is certainly a time for rest and recreation, it is also an opportunity to continue reading, developing new skills, spending quality time with family, and participating in positive and enriching activities. I also encourage parents and guardians to remain actively engaged with their children throughout the holiday period by promoting safe, healthy, and meaningful experiences that will prepare them for the new school year. And that is why, in part, I've mentioned these various camps that are happening. The Department of Sports, we highlight the commencement of the TDC-sponsored Renarco Morton Primary Schools Cricket Tournament that started on June 22nd. And I am told, which is something I did not know, and I'm quite proud now to say, that Nevis is the only island which is hosting a hardball primary school cricket tournament in the region. I think that is quite interesting, that we're the only ones that are hosting. This is proper cricket, hardball cricket in the region. And that, of course, is a reaffirmation of our commitment to the development of cricket from the grassroots level. As of Friday, June 26, Charleston Primary School were on top with 8 points, Elizabeth Pemberton Primary 6 points, Joyston Liebert with 6, Ivor Walters with 4, and Maud Cross Prep with 2. Violet Jeffers, St. Thomas's and St. James are yet to score. That is, yet to get points. But we are hopeful that they will, of course, get on the scorecard soon. We thank our title sponsor, TDC, and we encourage the public to come out and really be a part of these games. Let's cheer on our youngsters. The next West Indies star might be right there. So, let us go and encourage them. The ministry is also having the 2026 Club Run Series, and this is an exciting initiative over the summer. The theme is Run Together, Get Stronger, Go Farther. Series features 5 races beginning on Sunday, July 5th, followed by events on July 18th, August 15th, August 30th, and concluding September 20th. We welcome everyone, from seasoned runners to first-time participants, individuals, families, schools, workplaces, you name it. And they will compete for attractive cash prizes and awards, but the series is ultimately about promoting healthy lifestyles, building friendships, and strengthening the community spirit through sport. I just again, ladies and gentlemen, want to emphasize, I hope you all, the public and press, you're seeing the interconnectivity, the thread that's running through what this government is trying to do. It's not just about health promotion, doing it from a health perspective. It's also sport and youth. It's also the summer camps, working with our parents. All of these are working together, ministries working together to make a better Nevis. The St. Kitts Nevis Anguilla National Bank Summer Camp. The Department of Sport is also proud to once again host that summer camp, generously sponsored by St. Kitts Nevis Anguilla National Bank. This year's theme, Get Active, Have Fun, and Make Memories. And we thank the bank profusely for this. Again, encouraging wholesome activity, encouraging our people to get up, get out, and get moving, encouraging our people to be fit and to avoid the onset of some of these non-communicable diseases. Together through sport, we can build healthy individuals, stronger families, and an even stronger Nevis. Now let me move on quickly to something that I think is quite exciting, and that is the IT team also led by the Honorable Troy Liebert, that department has launched our official website. That was done on June 18th. The new website, nia.gov.kn, provides a modern user-friendly platform that enhances public access to government information, services, notices, and resources. It stands as a major milestone in improving how residents, businesses, visitors, and the wider diaspora interact with the administration. Now, this I think deserves a mention. One of the most noteworthy achievements is that the website is hosted locally, developed locally, and maintained locally by the administration's IT department. Put differently, everything that went into this website was developed in-house by our IT department. This reflects the exceptional talent that exists within the NIA and within Nevis, and our commitment to building sustainable, homegrown digital solutions. I want to place on record our sincere commendation and thanks to Mr. Craig David, Director of Information Technology, Mr. Javan Claxton, Deputy Director of Information Technology, and Ms. Tiara Petty, Systems Analyst and Lead Developer for the website, because it is their vision and leadership that has got us to this point. You see what happens when government invests in people and puts confidence in people? I am proud of this government's record, that at every opportunity we have allowed our people the chance to shine. We have not run overseas for everything. We have not treated foreign as better. Wherever possible, we've allowed our people to shine. So go on the website for yourself, please, nia.gov.kn, and have a look to see the quality of work that has been done by our local IT specialists. In fact, I will go further to say that the same IT team has been conducting training for the implementation of a new budget application system for the NIA. Again, that was entirely developed and will be maintained here in Nevis. These are not insignificant developments, ladies and gentlemen. This shows what happened when we show confidence in our own people. And so we welcome that news. Let me go quickly and talk a bit about tourism. The Nevis Tourism Authority continues to be out there promoting the island. We know that we are now in the summer months, which tends to be a bit of a lag in terms of visitor arrivals, but this is also the time when we have music festival, mango festival, Culturama, etc. And so we continue the promotions. We've been featured recently in Afar magazine, Travel Pulse, Travel Age West, New York Trend, and Break-In Travel News. Afar has named Nevis one of the Caribbean's best islands to visit, highlighting our appeal to luxury travelers. Four Seasons Resort was recently featured on Fox 13 Tampa Bay's Florida's Best, showcasing the island's world-class luxury accommodation. Our airline marketing continues with partnerships with Winair and Dutch Caribbean Airways, which have unveiled special airfare promotions to encourage visitors to experience the Mango Festival. Travelers are encouraged to visit airlines' websites and social media platforms to take advantage of these exclusive offers. You can go to flywinair.com and fly-dutchcaribbean.com for all offers and promotions. That the idea is to make it easier for people to come in for the Mango Festival. And you've heard me mention Mango Festival a few times, so let me now go to it to say that the Mango Festival is well and truly happening. The excitement is in the air as we count down to the 2026 start. We have tomorrow, Wednesday, and then we go straight into the Mango Fest, which starts on Thursday. We look forward to welcoming visitors and locals alike for 4 days of exceptional culinary experiences, culture, and celebration. On Thursday, the 2nd of July, we have the opening press conference at the Malcolm Gishard Park. I hope to see members of the press there at 10 a.m. Then Nevis Goes Mangoes from 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. And then we have the Supper Club on Thursday with Chef Eric Ajipong at the Four Seasons Resort Estates. I'm told it will be at the June. Friday, 3rd July, Mango Mania at Shaska. Shaska is a new restaurant that is opening. It was formerly Ubrenta, which is along the Island Main Road. That starts at 11 a.m. It goes until 5 p.m. And then there's the beach bar crawl at Penny's Beach at 7 p.m. Saturday, we have the Passport Food Tour I'm told it's already 80% at capacity. So if you're interested, please, you need to get your tickets now. That starts at 10:30, goes until 6 p.m. And then Sunday, 5th July, for the Love of Mangoes. That's a big event that happens at the Malcolm Gishard Park. That starts at 11 a.m. It goes until 10 p.m. Early access to the grounds is 11 a.m. They start serving food at 1 p.m. They have a VIP section as well for those who are minded. And the tickets are available at nevismangofest.com. I'm told that a limited number of tickets remain for the highly anticipated For the Love of Mangoes event. And so all these events are being sold out. Members out there, the public, if you're listening, we encourage you, please, to get your tickets online and get them now. We encourage everyone to follow the Nevis Mango Festival social media channels for event updates, schedules, and other important announcements throughout the festival weekend. Now let me touch on something because I tend to try to report on it, and that is the tourism development levy. I report on it because at 3% that is levied on food and hotel accommodation and guest house accommodation really gives us a sense of what is happening in that sector. And we collected $626,668.38 for the month of May 2026, and that compares to $419,255.31 in the same period last year. So we've had an increase of just over $207,000 or 49.47% year over year. I think that is remarkable in terms of what we're doing in tourism. And I really want to commend the Nevis Tourism Authority, the board, and of course our new CEO and her entire team. They've been doing a fantastic job and we're grateful to them for that. Let me go very quickly, and I promise members of the press I'm almost done, to the disaster management. As I said, we continue to do excellent work, and they would have had a United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction engagement from 16th to 18th of June. That engagement would have involved that Office for the Americas and the Caribbean. They would have been here in Nevis to support the continued implementing of the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction. Delegation included Mr. Raphael Hamor, Program Management Officer, Mr. Anwar Baksh, Program Officer and Consultant, Ms. Oricia Williams. When they came, they would have had courtesy calls, discussions with the Honorable Minister Spencer Brand, Permanent Secretary Wakely Daniel, Permanent Secretary Denzel Stanley, and officials from the Nevis Disaster Management. Good news, they've secured funding from the European Union to support the implementation of these activities in St. Kitts, Nevis, and Grenada, and Suriname. Those three countries are going to benefit. And they've also indicated their intention to support the review and updating of the Nevis Disaster Plan. And so we are continuing our work in that regard. They also introduced the Delta Resilience Platform, developed in collaboration with UNDP and the World Meteorological Organization. The platform is designed to catalog hazard events, capture disaster impacts, strengthen national and local risk information systems, and support evidence-based decision-making. In conjunction with our continued march to be ready, Prime Minister's annual hurricane simulation exercise would have happened on the 22nd and 23rd of June. NEMA, working with the Nevis Disaster Management Department, would have conducted the annual hurricane simulation exercises over that period, June 22nd to 23rd. That exercise would have engaged key stakeholders in the activation of the EOC, the Emergency Operations Center, and would have included key functional areas, implementation of incident management protocols, etc. They also would have hosted on the 24th June, that is the Nevis Disaster Management Department, an emergency radio communications workshop. That was done because they said they realized there were certain gaps in communication. So again, part and parcel of us getting ready. We are also in collaboration with the Caribbean Disaster Management Agency, CDIMA, and the UNDP, introducing an introductory virtual training on post-disaster needs assessment and disaster recovery. That will be for the period July 20th to 24th. And so again, we ask persons to take advantage of these opportunities. Incidentally, as we talk about preparation, On June 17th at 10 a.m., forecasters from NOAA's National Weather Service designated a low-pressure area near the middle Texas coast as Tropical Storm Arthur. So we already had our first named storm for the season. Thankfully, no damage was done. Arthur broke up once it got to land, but it is an indication that even though the prediction is for a below average season, we must remain prepared and take heed of the tips that are being offered. A reminder, in Nevis, the emergency shelters are the Girls Guide headquarters here in town, the Pond Hill Community Center, the Ebenezer Church of God, Charles Walters Community Center in Hanley's Road, Franklin Brown Community Center, Cotton Ground Community Center, Barnesgate Community Center, and Jessup's Community Center. Quick report on water drilling. You know that we are relentless in Nevis and ensuring that our people have this essential resource, which is water. And as of Friday, 26 June, we are back at Descents drilling, and we're down to a depth of 400 feet. 2 previous efforts at Descents didn't work because the wells kept caving in. We lost some equipment. Some drilling equipment, yes, and some pipes and casings, but the drillers are saying that they now have a different methodology that they're engaging with, and Descents looks to be quite promising. So just so that we are aware, we have drilled in Maddens and had 2 very successful high-yielding wells. We've drilled up in Church Ground, Brazier's area. We're told that that well is also good quality. I think we're waiting for some samples of the water to come back. We send those overseas. And we're now at Descents trying to, again, get that well done. I'm happy also to report that a 500,000-gallon water storage tank, brand new, has been installed at Stony Hill. So that work is completed. That tank takes the storage capacity in Nevis to just over 4 million gallons. And I keep saying it because I think it's important to say that this did not come about by chance. This is not happenstance. This is planning. This is investing. This is execution of the plan. We invested first in our distribution network. We invested second in our storage. And we invested third in more water. The idea then is when you get more water, you have some place to store it and you have a way to get it to people. It makes no sense, based on our analysis, to get more water and have no way to get it to people and no way to store it. So we did things in a sequential way, and we continue to invest. So that 500,000-gallon tank is going to be critical. It's being sanitized now. Once all the checks are done, it will be pressed into service. So I again congratulate the Honorable Spencer Brand and his team. A job well done. I'm also very pleased to say to the people of Upper Brown Pasture, Morgan Estate, that your road is now complete. 100% complete. Some minor works are still happening, where we're assisting people whose driveways were disturbed, and we have to come back there to do the cleanup. And normally with us, once we disturb your boundary markers, we tend to compensate by doing a fence for you. So we're going to go back to do the fencing. But the road, the carriageway is done. And I feel happy about that because I know how long those people have been agitating. They even sent a petition to me. So I want to again say kudos to Minister Brand and the team. But I also want to say kudos to the contractor, Mr. Egbert Clark. The reason I mention Mr. Clark is Mr. Clark has worked very closely with us. We know government sometimes doesn't have the resources necessary to pay all our bills on time. But when we find people who are willing to work with us, people whose love of country is so much that they say, I'm going to work with you, I think that those people should be commended. So Mr. Egbert Clark, if you're listening, thank you very much. You have done yeoman's service for us on that road, and I look forward to driving on it myself. I've gone there from time to time and given periodic updates, but I do know that it will be welcomed by all who live in that area. Now, those of you who are motorists would also know that, again, in our relentless quest to be more self-sufficient, to provide better quality service to the people of Nevis, we would have invested in the road marking machines that are now being pressed into action to mark the entire Island Main Road and some of the secondary roads as well. The report that I've had up to this morning says that we have completed road markings from Camps to Maddens and from Central Area in Gingerland to Beach Road. And you will see the workers out. That will be continuing. Now let me please sound a word of warning. The workers have reached out to me to complain that motorists are not slowing down, not heeding that there are people there working on the road, and that there have already been situations which have been dangerous to our workers. Motorists out there, please, we're asking you to be sensible, to be responsible. People are working on the roads. We know the roads in Nevis are nice and smooth. We know that because we built them. But we are asking you to use them responsibly. I saw something on social media, I think it was this morning, where somebody is begging for us to put speed bumps in Craddock Road. Why? Because the people who are using the roads are being reckless. And I'm urging you, please, to be responsible. It is not good practice to put speed bumps on any main road. That is not the way it is done. So be responsible. And I'm here to say, I've spoken to P.S. Daniel, who's my liaison with the security apparatus in the country. So I could say no, that we are working to bring about speed cameras on the island and a ticketing system that will be more automated, because currently you need to have an officer on site. So as you speed, we will be setting up speed traps, and you will cost you some money. You all remember the other Sinkers did it, and there were howls of protests. The protests in Sinkers got to a point where I'm told that the police forgave some of the tickets and decided that they will do things differently. I view what happened in Sinkers as a cautionary tale, because what happened followed upon several major accidents that led to deaths on the island of Sinkers. We do not want that to happen in Nevis. And so I am putting it out now that the speed traps are coming. And so our people, please drive sensibly on the road. The Nevis Post Office has asked me to tell you that they now have a new counter automation system recently installed. Initial training was first done during the early part of 2025, and the staff involved are now engaged in a trial run as the system is set up to fully function and implemented in early August. That system, we hope, will lead to greater productivity and greater security of customer information and, of course, greater accuracy. I will leave matters there then. I've been going on for a bit and invite some questions, if there are any, for me. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Mr. Premier. LK Hewlett, Department of Information.
Good morning, Ms. Hewlett.
You mentioned at your last press conference that the NIA cabinet would be writing to the federal government regarding a timeline for basically signing off or speaking up on the Destiny Agreement that would have been sent to them some time ago. Since then, there's been talk of a meeting between yourself and Prime Minister Drew on that matter, but nothing has been, put out into the public if there was such a meeting. Can we get an update on that matter, whether a letter was sent and has there been any response, and will Destiny become a reality? Okay, if I'm not mistaken, it was in May that the Iceland drilling folks met with the NIA cabinet, and drilling, the CEO said that he would have liked to mobilize by August. You said that was quite ambitious. We would see how it goes. Can you give us an update on that process? NEVLEC recently reintroduced a fuel surcharge on electricity bills, and both the utility company and the Ministry of Finance put out statements as to why that had become necessary. However, the consumers, many of them were complaining that the public was not notified about it. They only realized this after receiving really, really high bills, and they were not prepared for such a hike. Why was the public not put on notice ahead of time? Thanks.
Ms. Hewlett, thank you very much for your questions, as always. Update on Destiny, we did write to the federal government. We did indicate our anxiety that that project has now been with them, by our count, for 7 months. It has been in sync is longer than it was before the NIA. And the NIA during the time had a host of public consultations on the matter. And so we have been pressing for a response. I was advised that the matter should have gone to the federal cabinet last week, Monday, but unfortunately it could not because the Honorable Prime Minister had engagements overseas. I was then advised that it would go before the cabinet yesterday, Monday, at the regular cabinet meeting. But yesterday I was then advised that the cabinet had not happened yesterday as scheduled and that the cabinet will happen today, Tuesday. So I'm optimistic that the matter will be addressed today. I am told that the matter is on the agenda for the cabinet today. And the Prime Minister has gone through his process, which was to appoint a committee to take that committee's report. That report has come to us. They have highlighted their concerns and we have responded. So that is where things currently stand. So we anticipate that we should have a response from the federal government at long last sometime this week. And that is my hope that we can move this project forward. You asked, is the project going to happen? I'm hopeful that the project can happen and that we can see development on that side of the island which we have not seen in the last century. I'm hopeful that we can, through that project, generate thousands of jobs for our people. I'm hopeful that our people in the diaspora who are desirous of coming home can come home to see an island that is more robust economically, that our young people, average about 300 a year, who are leaving school can find meaningful work here, and that those youngsters who have gone away to study and want to come back to contribute to Nevis, that they can. I'm also hopeful, because the island needs people, that those who are our Caribbean brothers and sisters will continue to come to lend their talents to helping us develop and grow. For those Nevisians who continue to be alarmed at the idea of a large development, I share and understand your concern. But as a Premier of Nevis, we can't do things the same way that we used to do things and expect that we will be able to advance this island. We need to be able to take bold steps. I'm reminded that you will never know what is in the ocean if you're afraid to leave the shore. So we must be willing to take bold steps. And leadership is about taking bold steps. Leadership is about having a vision when even sometimes those around may doubt. But you press forward. And I can look throughout our history at a number of various game-changing decisions that were taken. And Social Security, going back as far as 1970s, was introduced. The same house of protest, people said, you're taking away our money. Social Security now is a critical safety net for so many of us. When the Citizenship by Investment Program was introduced in 1984, first of its kind in the world, many people scoffed, you're selling your passport. But look how the CBI has allowed us to change the landscape of St. Kitts and Nevis. In the Bank of Nevis, the idea was launched by our first Premier, the Honorable Dr. Simeon Daniel, a national hero. Right Excellent and Right Honorable Dr. Simeon Daniel. People scoffed. In fact, the only way that Dr. Daniel got that bank started was to approach 10 of his friends. And many people said, I will not put my money in that bank because it's Sim Daniel's bank. The bank today is celebrating 40 years. It's the second largest bank in the Federation and a critical piece to our economy. When the Four Seasons came in 1989, again the howls. Where are we going to pick our coconut now? Where are we going to catch crab? The Four Seasons going to take up the lands down at Pinnies. Which of us today, Ms. Hewlett, can seriously argue that the Four Seasons has not been of tremendous benefit to the people of Nevis? How many Nevisians now have house and land and car and children have education because of the Four Seasons? And even people don't work there in terms of day to day. The farmers, the fishers, those who are diving conch and lobster, taxi drivers, the vendors, all have been part of what Four Seasons has brought. But we must face the reality. Four Seasons has plateaued. After 35 years, there is very little room for additional employment at that resort. And our people are now saying to us, our young people especially, we need new and different jobs. It's not only now about working in a hotel, in terms of housekeeping or laundry or restaurant, as the case may be. It is also now about people who can be engaged in positions involving technology, IT. People who can be engaged as chefs and managers and accountants. That is how I want us to start to think, because too many of us are consumed with criticism and cussing, but are not offering to the people of Nevis any solutions. I saw Dickon Mitchell, Prime Minister Mitchell, lashing out at the opposition in Grenada. And you know what he said? He said all they do is criticize. They don't offer any solutions. And he wants a debate in the country about solutions. And I have said the same over and over. I said either Dickon listening me or I listening Dickon. But said the same. We need the country to have the ideas contend. So there are many out there who are saying they don't want this type of development. They don't want a large-scale development. But what do they propose to develop that quadrant of Nevis, that sector, that South Coast? When you ask them that, they have no answer. And the misrepresentation just keep coming. The latest I heard is that there'll be a 14-foot wall around the whole. Somebody sent something to me where somebody characterized it as an unscalable wall. First of all, I want to know why anybody would want to scale the wall to go into people's property. Because that's where you have gates. Front gate, back gate. If you're there for legitimate purposes, you don't need to scale anybody's wall. But secondly, just think about the stupidity of advocating that they'll be having some 14-foot wall over 2,000 acres of land. When you have technology at your fingertips to monitor. It's not that Four Seasons doesn't have walls, or should I say, not that they don't have secured premises. They do. But they've secured it in their way. And nobody is building any enclave, walled enclave. That is the furthest thing from the truth. So you have all this propaganda out there. Oh, Mark Brantley only negotiated for 5% of the jobs to come to Nevisians. Well, I must have been doing negotiation in my sleep, because I, as Premier of Nevis, have always said Nevisians must be given the opportunities in their country. So these things are just said. And I just keep saying to our people, just be patient. The process must take its course, and the agreement will come to public scrutiny because it's mandated by law. It's not me say so. It's not due to some generosity on my part. It's the law says so. So let us just be patient and stop all the foolish speculation and just allow the process to work. Now, some people have also said, oh, 7,000 to 10,000 people are going to descend on Nevis tomorrow. Again, abject nonsense. The project has said that over the course of the project, they expect that as these residences are built out, people move into the communities, that they expect this number of people. If I can use Four Seasons as an example. Four Seasons only in the last several months have started their final phase. Four Seasons have been with us for 35 years. So what that tells us is that this project is likely to be a project that is going to be contributing over many, many years. And for those Nevisians at home and abroad who are afraid, who are concerned, I say to them, let us take heart and be courageous. The reason I say that is because as we look around our region, we have islands the same size like Nevis. We could look as close as St. Martin. I'm told that Nevis is bigger than Tortola. The island of Tortola, that is. Of course, Tortola has the other islands for the BVI. St. Martin, Nevis at 36 square miles is 1.5 times the size of Bermuda. Bermuda, I believe, is 21 square miles. But Bermuda has 65,000 people living in Bermuda. Nevis is 1.5 times the size of Bermuda. We have 13,500 people living here. When I go away, we have 13,499. How are you going to build an economy? Build a country? When our people say we want the best health care that's available, we want the best infrastructure, the best roads, we want energy. And yes, our people deserve the best of everything, but how are you going to pay for it? You see, nobody wants to have those conversations. Can you pay for it with a population of 13,500? Bear in mind that of that 13,500, we have to remove those who are sick, those who are infirm. Some may be differently able, so they can't participate in the normal economy. Remove the children who are in school. Remove the elderly. And you see that 13,500 really comes down to probably much less than 10,000 in terms of productive people. When I look at the Social Security numbers, even though jobs are growing, we're still only seeing 6,500 or thereabouts people employed. So that tells us, ladies and gentlemen, that there is a long way to go for us to get to where we need to go. If you're selling gas at the gas station, if you're selling mango, if you're selling lobster, if you're selling your skills as a carpenter, a plumber, if you have a bar or a restaurant, you need people. It is people who drive development, people who drive consumption. And so if over time we can grow our population, I have no problem with that whatsoever. I'm hopeful that our local people rise to the challenge. I'm hopeful that those in the diaspora will heed our clarion call to come home, to invest. I'm hopeful that our Caribbean brothers and sisters will keep coming as they're doing. And yes, I'm hopeful that those who will decide to buy and live in Destiny, that they too will come. Just as those who buy and live inside Four Seasons are welcome to come. Just as those who have bought and live in Marriott in St. Kitts and Christophe Harbour in St. Kitts and Kittitian Hill in St. Kitts are welcome to come. We're building a country here. That's what we're trying to do. This is not Dolly House. We're building a country. And to build a country, you need people. And so I say that because that is the position and that is the message, Ms. Hewlett, that I am sending to the federal government. When we look at what is going on in the country now, where many are arguing that the economy is not where it ought to be, we're talking about Destiny bringing in, over the course of time, some $1.2 billion in investment, the largest single investment in the history of this country. Why would we be so reluctant to engage? I think we need to start to think outside the box and start to recognize. Somebody said to me, oh, why y'all just can't bring back another Four Seasons? Because that model is changing. The world is now looking for other things. And we must remember that we're competing with the rest of the world. There's no easier path because we're small. So when you have that opportunity, when you look at St. Kitts and Nevis right now, I'm told the Ritz-Carlton project proposed in St. Kitts. I don't know what has happened there. That doesn't appear to be moving forward. What then? CBI is struggling badly. And even the experts are saying that it will never get back to the heyday because of pressures from external forces. So if CBI is struggling, tourism showed us during COVID how fickle it is. Because if a pandemic breaks out tomorrow, the flights stop. 9/11, nothing to do with us. But when it happened, the airspace shut down. Donald Trump decided, President Donald Trump, to go into Venezuela to take out the president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro. What happened? The airspace to the entire Caribbean was shut down. No flights from Miami or New York. We have to start to think differently about development and what we can do here for ourselves. And if we can find partners who are reliable partners to help us do that, then again, I don't see what the issue is. Because when we look at the landscape now, we look at the next 5 years, and we say, what are the touch points in terms of economic development? Destiny looms large. It's available, it's here, they're anxious to go. It is a one that they have not yet pulled out. I believe me, I've done everything in my power to tell them to be patient. Everything. All the vitriol, the attacks and accusations against these people. And I have said, listen, stay the course. Because people who are reasonable, people of goodwill, understand development and understand what the country needs. And I put it as starkly as this. If Destiny tomorrow were not to happen, what is the alternative in terms of getting that part of Nevis developed? I posed a question to someone, and the person said to me, well, the government must spend the money to put in the road and the water and the electricity. I said, yes, government must spend that money to put it into private lands at a cost to the taxpayers of over $150 million when we did some preliminary costing. Who's going to pay for that? Yesterday I saw something being circulated, and it purports to be on behalf of the landowners in the south coast of Nevis. And the landowners are saying to those who are opposed to the Destiny development, our lands are for sale. Could you come and buy the lands from us? I think that's a fair thing to ask. Because you can't take a man with the bread and can't give him biscuit. So they're saying for those who are opposed, please, come and buy the land. You don't want me to sell it to Tom? Well, you name Harry, you come and buy it from me. And I'm curious to see how many takers there are going to be, because a lot of us talk. That's the luxury that we have. We have a mouth, so we talk. And in St. Kitts and Nevis now, there are too many people who talk and benefit from the privilege of having the ability of holding opinions without consequence. So they talk. My opinion is this and my opinion is that. But at the end of the day, how does this help us develop? And there's nothing that we have on that. And so it is my hope that this project will be favorably considered today, and that we will be able to move on after this intolerable delay that we've had in relation to this Destiny project. Icelandic drilling, I have not had a recent update from them in terms of mobilization, other than what I said at the last time I reported, that it indicated August. I do know that we've had a few, what I would call administrative issues. We had some issues to work out in relation to lands in the area which had to be purchased. And we have issues now just dealing with the drawdown. There's some sequencing that has to be done. So I believe that I'm advised that a team from Nevlec is headed to Iceland to look at the drill rig. And then thereafter, that's apparently part of the agreement that we have to go and inspect. And thereafter, we expect the drill rig to arrive. And so I saw a letter just this morning, which is to go off to the CDB to update them and to ask of them that the structure for the drawdowns, that be put in place. So I expect that the mobilization should be shortly, because we're doing what we need to do. Nevlec, we introduced the service charge, the fuel service charge without advance notice. I want to apologize publicly for that, Ms. Hewlett. It is not the way that I try to do business, and I can only apologize. I was told once, when you're wrong, you just say you're sorry and hope that people forgive you. We should have put out something in advance. There was, I think, a communication error on our part, or miscommunication, that is between the NIA and Nevlec. and as a consequence, the fuel surcharge was applied without first advising the public. I apologize sincerely for that, and we have since tried to make amends by putting out the necessary information as to why and how it will impact. Now, some may argue that whatever point the notice came, it will still cause hardship for people, because in some cases people have said their bill has doubled. I said to our people that all I can do is to remind us all that the government has really been trying its best. And from 2022, the end of COVID, until 2026 June, no household in Nevis paid a fuel surcharge. None. For those 4 years, I'm told it cost the government $28.9 million to subsidize every household on this island in terms of the fuel surcharge. And then for businesses, we capped the fuel surcharge at 65 cents. So anything over that, the government paid for. And so we are asking now, we're basically saying to the public, the government simply cannot continue. The difficulties caused by the war in Iran and the closure of the Strait of Hormuz were so severe. And remember, this increase is not going to effect at once, meaning that even though the war started and prices started to escalate, we still held the line for as long as we could. Some argue now that prices are trending downwards, and we welcome that. We hope the Strait of Hormuz reopens, and so we welcome that. And I will make that commitment that as prices stabilize, so too your bill will reflect that stabilization. So if you realize the notices that we sent out, we said this was a temporary measure, because the idea is that the hikes that we have seen was simply made the generation of electricity uneconomic and unsustainable for the island of Nevis. And so we are saying that as things stabilize, we will pass on those savings to the consumer. And that is what we will try to do, consistent with our efforts throughout of trying to shield our people from these impacts. I should also add that our programs where we provide free electricity to seniors and the like, that those continue. So those aren't impacted. But on the fuel surcharge, we simply couldn't hold the line any longer. And we apologize for the lack of notice or adequate notice. But I'm hopeful that people will forgive us for that. That was a communication glitch. And going forward, we commit to doing the very best we can to keep our people informed, but also to pass savings on to them when those savings come. I would just urge our people to recognize that because the price of oil is falling, doesn't mean that we get that saving right away. Because we would have bought oil, you buy diesel out some weeks before you actually consume it. So there's a possibility that some of the oil we're now consuming was at the highest level in terms of pricing. And as that pricing comes down, we hope in the next few weeks, the next cycle, we will see that cheaper fuel now allowing us to generate electricity at a cheaper rate. The ultimate answer, of course, Ms. Hewlett, is for us to move with pace to develop the renewable energy. That will be the ultimate answer. Any other questions for me?
Good morning, Premier.
Good morning, Mr. Bart.
Television Caribbean, TVC Channel 40.
Is this TVC? TVC Channel 40.
Channel 40 on the cable. Now, we've been talking about Destiny this morning.
Yes.
And I'm glad that it came up because on St. Kitts there seems to be a growing bit of confusion over the process and procedure. And I would like you as a lawyer, because you have the legal background, to take us back to the SSC legislation, what it says, what does it do with regards to the land on Nevis, because there's some people who seem to believe that the federal government has some kind of say about the land on Nevis. And then take us through the procedure once the NIA has basically said, well, this is the project that we are supporting, and it's gone over now to the federal government. what happens? How does it end up in Parliament? How does the report end up in the public domain for review and input and that kind of thing? So I'd just like you to clarify this whole procedure so that it makes it clear for everyone else. And then my second question now is relating to the airport. Some people are saying that there seems to be some kind of slowdown, stalling in terms of the payment to persons who had land who needed to be removed. Can you clarify that in terms of how fast can this project really get off the ground and you can see action taking place?
Okay. Mr. Ball, thank you. Great questions as always. I'll take your last question first. That has to do with the airport. You said stalling for payment of lands. I'm not aware of that. I genuinely am not. I know that we had secured a $20 million facility from the National Bank, and as far as I was aware, landowners were being paid. It is true that some landowners didn't have their documents in the correct order, as is and can be expected. But my understanding is that landowners have been paid. I know, for example, so a landowner on the bad with direction, but in the direction of the Nisbet Plantation Hotel. That landowner we had to acquire, I think it was 17 or 18 acres. That landowner has been paid in full. Other landowners, as far as I knew, this was being handled through the legal department. So if that is happening or is being said, I need to investigate that because the funds were made available and I know that we've been paying out landowners for their lands in that area. Going to the SSZ legislation, you said, what does it say in the federal government? Let me be very clear, Mr. Bart, that the federal government has no control over land in Nevis. Let me repeat that. The federal government has no control over land in Nevis. That is not a question of any SSZ. That is the constitution of St. Kitts and Nevis. Land in Nevis falls to the Nevis Island Administration. Now, let me add a further point, that private lands aren't controlled by any government. So in the case of the lands at issue here, that is the lands on the South Coast, those are owned principally by private landowners. The only significant parcel there that was owned by government, it was a parcel owned by the Nevis Island Administration. And that parcel, I believe, was, I can't remember the precise number, but close to 300 acres or thereabouts. That parcel was transferred in 2012 by the NRP-led administration at the time to the National Bank as part of the land for debt swap. The National Bank, therefore, is the owner of that parcel of land. And the National Bank, my understanding is, has agreed, like many others, to sell to the Destiny developers. We will have an engagement with the National because if that sale is consummated, then the question would be, of course, to reduce the debt. That's what the land for debt swap was all about, by the amount of the sale. Yeah? So that is the government land. If you have your private land, whether in that area or any other area, the government doesn't control your land. So the broad headline really is to say that in Nevis, lands fall within the constitutional remit of the Nevis Island Administration. The federal government has no role to play there. If the federal government needs land in Nevis for any reason, then they reach out to the NIA to acquire that land. But in terms of the Prime Minister, the sustainable development, I think you call it in St. Kitts, having jurisdiction over land in Nevis, that is not the case. Land in Nevis is either held by the Crown, that is the NIA, through the Crown, or it is held by the Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation, which is the entity, statutory entity that holds most of the lands in Nevis. So I see people have tried with that red herring, but it has no constitutional basis whatsoever. Land in Nevis is not controlled, the federal government has no say in terms of what happens in relation to land in Nevis. No. The issue of the federal government and their involvement, it was because this SSZ legislation was designed to attract a different type of investment and investor. If these people are only doing another Four Seasons resort, or another Marriott resort, and they want to do it in Nevis, then there will be no need to involve the federal government. It's because they wanted to create a special zone, as it's designated, special sustainability zone. That is why the federal government is engaged. And this legislation, even though some have commented adversely on it, is the first bit of legislation in the country that requires a development to come to the public. The very first. Sometimes in our effort to criticize, we ignore the realities of the situation. We have had significant developments before, Mr. Bart. Christopher Harbour, I am told, occupies some 2,400 acres. Many people don't realize that from the time you leave the tunnel from Frigate Bay, you're into the peninsula, and that the vast majority of that land is owned by one owner, Christopher Harbour, or through their landholding entity, whatever it is. 2,400 acres, I'm told, is the number there. Nobody has ever seen the Christopher Harbour Agreement. You, Mr. Bart, as a member of the press, will correct me if you've ever seen it. But I don't know anybody in the press has seen it. The public has not seen it. In fact, I will tell you that I have a good friend who invested in Christopher Harbour and indicated that portions of the agreement were shared, meaning that they were shown the portions that that investor could benefit from. But the agreement in its entirety has never been published anywhere. You and Ms. Hewlett and the various members of the press have not had an opportunity to peruse it, to analyze it and dissect it. I say the same about the Marriott Agreement. I say the same about the Four Seasons Agreement. I say the same about the Kitish and Hill Agreement, the Ramada Agreement. None of us have ever seen them. So this SSC legislation is actually a quantum leap forward in terms of transparency. Because by law, the agreement ultimately has to come to the public, and it has to be debated both in the Nevis Island Assembly and in the federal parliament. It requires both parliaments to give it affirmation, to say, yes, this is what we want. And so you ask about process. The normal process is we're still at a stage where there's no agreement, because the NIA has signaled that we are comfortable, but the federal government has been sitting on this and dealing with this for the last 7 months. We hope to have a decision from them this week, as I've indicated. Now, once we have an agreement, that agreement then has to find its way to be incorporated into a bill here in the NIA and in Sinkits for the National Parliament. That bill goes out then to the public after its first reading. The Bar Association, everybody has an opportunity to opine, share their views. Those views are then taken into account, and the bill then goes for second reading at some point in the future with full debate now, where opposition, government, everybody gets an opportunity to have their say. And during that process, the bill then can be amended. Changes can be made. So, during that process, and it happens all the time for those who do pay attention to Parliament, I get up as leader of the opposition in the federal Parliament and say, I don't like this section, this fine is too harsh, this what, and you get amendments along the way. You also can get amendments even before the debate starts, because sometimes stakeholder groups would write and say we have a problem with this, that, or the other, and the necessary amendments will be made accordingly. So this process is actually lengthy. It's frustrating in terms of the time that it has taken, but it is actually a process that is designed for maximum public consultation and involvement and maximum public scrutiny about a project like this. And for many who have been quick to criticize, I have not heard that type of analysis, because, as I said, we have a lot of other projects here. Fort Thomas up there, they said they're building the Taj Mahal at Fort Thomas. A replica of the Taj Mahal is what is being built at the historic Fort Thomas Hotel. Have we seen any agreement on that? Nothing has come to the Parliament, and nothing will come to the Parliament. But that construction is going on full speed. So we just have to, I think, in the country to, as I heard one commentator say, there's a lot of heat being generated but very little light. We need to tone down on the heat and start to look at development now and say, well, listen, where are we going and how do we go about it? But I think the SSZ legislation is a quantum leap forward in terms of transparency and openness on projects. Because everybody's saying, oh, well, what was agreed, what was agreed? I am saying allow the process to work, because eventually you, Mr. Bart, will have a copy of the agreement if you so desire. Members of the press can tear it apart and scrutinize every paragraph if they so desire. I am no doubt that we'll have press conferences and you'll come and you'll ask me about Article 82 and Article 212, because you would have had the benefit of seeing it. No other development have we seen that for. And I think that that in and of itself speaks well of what we have sought to do at the national level about this SSZ and what it is they're trying to bring to the island. So I think that when we look at development in the main, this legislation actually is a big step forward for us. Rather than, I hear words like secrecy and this is being done, and there could be no secrecy with a project under the SSZ. Because there's no secret deal or secret arrangement. It has to go to Parliament. And anything has to go to Parliament means it has to have public scrutiny. And that is the process there. Any other questions for me?
It's now afternoon now, so good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Jarvis Bourne, Van Radio. Mr. Premier, just a few questions about the surcharge. What would you say to persons who perhaps are expecting a time frame as to when the surcharge can be adjusted? On another note, sir, just to be a little political, recently, sir, you, of course, being the leader of the CCM party, and representatives of your party conducted some walkthroughs throughout the parishes of Nevis. What would you say to critics who are saying, well, the CCM is conducting walkthroughs because an election is brewing, or perhaps something is coming soon? So basically, what would you say to critics in that respect? And finally, sir, of course, you made mention about young people and commending the young person that did the video involving you and whatnot. I'm not sure if this is in the plans, but what would you say to perhaps a unit being set up, perhaps by the government, but not only by the government, perhaps dedicated to something like content creation? And in addition to that, in terms of making money, because you indicated that the young people are not gravitating to, archaic jobs like laundry and so on. Have you ever considered encouraging them to do something like online trading, or whereby ways they can make money off of their phones? And those are my 3 questions, sir. Thanks.
Okay, Mr. Brown, thank you very much, and welcome back. I haven't seen you at the press conference in some time. They normally send the ladies, not you, so I'm happy that you're here. And we thank Van Radio for its continued engagement with us. You asked for timeline on adjusting the fuel surcharge. That's really difficult for me to say, because the factors that are impacting the cost of fuel are entirely outside the control of the Nevis Island administration or the control of anybody in the region. So we can only continue to monitor the situation, hope that things stabilize in Iran and the Strait of Hormuz is reopened. Hope that a lot of this war that we're seeing around the world, that will just stabilize. We're not the ones causing it. We're not going to war with anybody. But when the United States sneezes, we catch a cold, and that is really what's happening here. And so I can't give a timeline, but what I can do is give the commitment that once we see those prices stabilize, we will adjust accordingly. You said the CCM did some walkthroughs. Some are saying election is pending. I would respond and say election is always pending, because under our system, an election can come at any time. What we are trying to do as a government, led by the CCM party at this point, is really to go to the community to interact with our people. We recognize, Mr. Brown, that sometimes people are not willing to come into your office to talk to you. And so we said, listen, we need to create some opportunities for people to have that one-on-one word if they want it, but for us to go to them. And I could tell you the reception has been very warm and very welcoming. Critics will criticize, that's what they do. I had a joke of my life because the opposition, the main opposition party in Nevis, is also doing walkthroughs. But in response to our walkthroughs, one of them commented and said, we're begging vote. And I heard somebody say, what are they begging, mango? Because if they're doing walkthrough, and we're doing walkthrough, well, how is it okay for them to interact, but it's not okay for us to interact? So I don't put any particular thing on that. My goal is to be focused on engaging with the people of Nevis. Are we rendering the services that they elected us to render? Are we doing the job that they elected us to do? And that is why we are going out to engage. And since you raised it, I should say that in the month of July, we are going to have another round of those walkthroughs, because we are going community by community, parish by parish. So what you saw is only the start. We have also, as part of that reporting, going to the diaspora, and we would have had a meeting in New York with the diaspora there. Very good meeting. We catered for 100. We end up with probably more than 150. And that would have been the Honorable Spencer Brand, and we had with us Mr. Delvin Clark, who heads our diaspora unit. And again, we were very warmly received, great exchanges, and I felt really happy that the people there are paying attention to what's going on here in Nevis. Destiny and those projects also elicited some discussions there, but I think that it went very, very well, and I want to thank all of those who were involved. I want to thank my sister Helen, who helped with the organization there, and I want to thank Dion Pemberton, who acted as the master of ceremonies for us. But we had a really, really good time in New York. So you'll be seeing more of that from us, because we're saying, listen, let's now do some outreach. Let's go into the community. Insofar as elections, of course, the federal election is in the control of the Honorable Prime Minister. That's his right. The last election we had was, I think, was in August of 2022. So it means that we're not due an election federally until next year, 2027, if you were to do the 5 years. If the Prime Minister opts to go early, that's his call. I have nothing to do with that. The election in the NIA was December of 2022. So it really means that we have until April or thereabouts of 2028, because it's 3 months after the first sitting of the Parliament. So I'm in no rush. I have things to do, I have work to do. People elected this government for 5 years. And I know my brother Gaston in Antigua went early, and my sister Mia went early in Barbados, but that's a matter for them. I have work to do. I want to deliver on Destiny. I want to deliver on geothermal. I want to deliver the airport. We have the hospital project that is still to be finished. I have some other projects that I'm working hard on. I want to deliver. So all of those who are clamoring for election, I tell them, take it easy. Take it easy. We are well within time, and the government is at work. And we're going out to meet our people, because that's what we do. When you serve people, you want to interact with them. Okay? So that is where I am on that. Young people, you asked about setting up a unit. We have not really thought of doing that. What we have thought of is providing training for young people to do more in terms of AI and to do more in terms of the digital economy. And perhaps that is something we should think about now, whether there could be a unit. I still don't like the idea of that unit being content creators, but certainly to train and teach people how to create content, and so that you then are equipped with the tools that you can go and earn additional income doing things of that nature. So that would be my response to you on those matters. Anything further for me?
Okay, Hewlett, Department of Information again. Good afternoon. The NIA would have introduced a daycare assistance program a few years ago. Is that project still ongoing, and has it been providing the relief it was intended to provide to single households? Thanks.
Ms. Hewlett, thank you very much. It's a project that we're very, very proud of. I think I have some information. Yes, we're very proud of that project, because that project, and you know, it's interesting how that dovetails into what Mr. Brown was just asking about. Because Mr. Brown said about us walking through. That project came from walking through. We were in Hamilton. A young mother came and spoke to us about the difficulties she was having with daycare, and that's where this project came from. being in the community, listening to people, and then implementing to try and help people. So the short answer is that I'm told that we have 37 children are currently enrolled. We have 35 who have graduated from the program because it's daycare, so as they move on. 13 graduated in 2024, 22 graduated in 2025. Over the period 2023 to 2025, we've invested $278,475.95 in providing that support. And I want to just remind us that that support goes to the daycare center. So it also helps to support those businesses that have daycare facilities. So far for this year, we have invested $56,000. And an important point, Ms. Hewlett, is that registration is open all year round. So there's no cutoff. So for example, if you started the year, you were employed, you were being able to handle your daycare for your children, and then maybe you got sick. Maybe you lost your job. And you now have a struggle. Come and talk to us, because we recognize that daycare is an ongoing, everyday thing. And we also recognize that a lot of our children get their primary foundation in daycare. And so we need to be strong at the roots if we want them to grow up and be strong trees and become pillars in the society. So 37 children are currently enrolled, 35 graduates from the program thus far, and based on this expenditure here, $278,000 plus $56,000, we've spent well over $300,000 already on this program since it was introduced. Registrations are open. We say to call 469-5521, extension 6750 if you need this assistance. Or you can go into the Gender Affairs Department at the GMC building in Government Road. So that is where we are on that. So that program is certainly still going. And the theme that we've used is supporting working families and strengthening futures. So again, something that came out of those very walkthroughs, a program that I believe has been assisting people in a meaningful way. And she told me I could call her name. So it was Africa Wilkes, who was the person who proposed this program to us. And I give Africa credit because she came, she availed herself of the opportunity, she told us what difficulties she was experiencing, and as a consequence of that, other families have been able to benefit. She didn't come and ask for something for Africa. She came and asked the government, could you put something in place to assist those parents that needed it? And thank God we were able to do so. So that program is definitely still on the way. Anything further for me?
One final question from me, Elke Hewlett, Department of Information. The government had announced that they would pack up the government vehicles when the day is done, to put it colloquially. I saw a lot of grumbling about that. Has there been any backlash, and how has that been effective? And how has the government been, curbing costs in light of what's going on in terms of fuel and just in terms of the increased cost of living?
Monsieur, that you raise a good question, and it is something that we have been battling with. There are some public servants who seem to feel that government vehicles belong to them. And I have been talking about it and talking about it. We have put out a policy which said that in partial response to this hike in fuel costs, that we are asking for government vehicles to be parked at the end of the workday and certainly to be parked at weekends. Save and except those that are given an exemption because they're emergency vehicles. Water department, for example, they have to respond at all hours of the day and night. If you have a broken pipe at 2 o'clock in the morning, they have to respond. But what we've realized is that there's some government workers who seem to feel that their names are attached to these vehicles. And I just want the general public to appreciate what I'm saying here. The government, that is you, has to pay to buy those vehicles. We have to pay to insure them where they are insured. We have to pay for parts, wear and tear, mechanic, servicing, and of course we have to pay for fuel. We have had examples where people go to the government fuel shop on Friday afternoon to fill up that vehicle. And you see them parked at church, you see them parked by Sunshines, you see them parked all across the length and breadth of this island, at day, night, and in between. 4 in the morning, if you drive around. I don't, but I've been told. You see them park outside various homes where these people don't live. So, these vehicles are being abused. We have said time and time again that the vehicles are to be used for your work. I will go even further, Ms. Hewlett, and say that some of the people who are abusing these vehicles are also getting travel allowance. You remember the travel allowance, is intended for when you use your vehicle. That's where you get a travel allowance. So imagine you have a vehicle from the government 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you're still collecting a travel allowance. It is unconscionable. And so we have said to our people, listen, just be reasonable and responsible. When those vehicles go down the road and God forbid there's an accident, more expense to the taxpayers of the country. So, you ask how the program is going. Some of the ministries have complied fully, and I thank them. Some of the others, we still have problems. And we are going to take increasingly draconian positions in relation to those ministries. If I have to ask them to send the key up to the Ministry of Premier's Ministry every afternoon, because it has to stop. It has to stop. Not even ministers of government. The only person on this island who has an official vehicle is the Premier of Nevis. Nobody else. So imagine ministers of government, permanent secretaries, assistant permanent secretaries, none of them have a vehicle at their disposal 24/7. But people below that are driving the government vehicles up and down as if it's their private property. It cannot be right. It cannot be right. Driving on the road some night after 9, I see a government vehicle. Thank the Lord now they have G. So you know when it's a government vehicle. After 9 at night, headed country. So that's somebody going home. The other day I'm by a restaurant on a Sunday. I see another one parked up there at the restaurant. On a Sunday. What emergency, what government business was being conducted at that restaurant on a Sunday to warrant a government vehicle? The wear and tear, the tires, the gas, the everything that you and I are paying for. And I speak about it because we, as in ourselves, we need to be responsible. And it seems like for me, some only when they're embarrassed or they're made to pay some kind of price, that is the only time they'll take notice. There are some people who are flagrantly decided that they will continue to abuse the government vehicles. It has to stop, Ms. Hewlett. And I say so, and as I said, for those ministries that are not complying, we will take increasingly draconian action in relation to them, because this cannot continue. So I thank all the other ministries that have decided, listen, vehicles have to be parked up, and have really made the effort to ensure that that is the case. So, members of the public, when you all see G vehicles out there at night and weekends, report it. Take the picture and put it up on Facebook. Ask what the vehicle was doing down by Sunshine, right? Or down by Lime Cabanas, 10 o'clock at night. Because it is your money. It is taxpayers' money that is being wasted. And as I said, God forbid when those vehicles get into accidents, government again have to come to fix them. A day doesn't go by, I don't get requests from the various ministries. There is an insatiable appetite for vehicles. Ministries say we need. And in fairness to some, what they have are old, they need to be replaced. But it's hard to justify buying vehicles to give to ministries to then see functionaries in those ministries abusing the vehicles. So it really has to stop, and I'm hopeful that those functionaries out there who are part of that abuse put down the government key on Friday afternoons, put down the government key on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday when you finish work, and certainly on the weekend. This old practice of going up to the garage to fill up the tank on a Friday afternoon for your linemen on the weekend, that can't continue. Any other thing for me?
Sorry, Mr. Premier, just to reiterate a question. You did answer the part about content creation. I was just wondering, what is the NIA view on, the young people, dealing with online trading and, sitting in the comfort of their homes and making money legitimately. Let me make sure I put that. Thanks.
No, but Mr. Brown and I encourages it. I mean, but as I said, those are sort of personal pursuits. The people here, for example, you should know that a lot of the major companies, they outsource a lot of their coding. The people who are programming and things are doing it from the comfort of their homes. Even here in Nevis, I'm told that a couple of the call centers have people who are doing work from home. So, listen, we're in a modern world now. And we have to encourage our people to engage. And that's why I'm talking about changing our thinking. Because before you come out of school and you're going to get a job at the bank as a teller, you're going to get a job at a little business in town, you're a clerk, you have some kind of title assigned to you. You come back from university, you get a middle management position, you're supervisor. And there's room for that still. But this new world is going to be AI. In fact, was it yesterday I was looking at CNN and they're now arguing, in fact, they've asked the people behind ChatGPT, OpenAI I think they're called, they've asked them to hold, the US government has asked them to stop some development of AI, what they call an autonomous AI. They have AI now, you have to prompt it, you have to tell it what you want. Autonomous AI now, it looks like you don't even need a human involvement. So they've asked, and when I see, I think the chap is called Altman, if I'm sure. He gave some testimony at the US Congress. And he said, as the creator, one of the creators of this thing, that he's fearful that they don't do harm to the public. So the US government has actually stepped in and said, hey, you all hold on a minute. Elon Musk and his platforms, SpaceX, again, the impact of AI is now valued, they said, over $2 trillion. They went public, making Mr. Musk the first trillionaire in the world. Right? This open AI, they say, is to go public, is already valued at over $1 trillion. So it tells you that that is where the world is going. And our young people need to get involved. Right? People like me, I don't know if I could learn those new skills. But the youngsters, they grew up with the technology. You show them a phone with a regular dial, they don't know what that is. They have no concept of that. Right? They're not plugging things into the wall. They are carrying that computer with them on their palm. They're doing interesting things. So absolutely, I encourage them to get involved. Whether it's online trading, whether it's design work, digital work, coming up as this young man is doing with some creative content, whatever it may be. But I emphasize what you emphasize. Make sure it's legal. All right? Ladies and gentlemen, it looks like that's it for me. Thank you all very much for being here. And I look forward to seeing you at the next monthly press conference. Thank you very, very much.
You found